Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Fridays with Keenan's Cutting Edge. As always, my name is Jenna Labor, and I am your host as we explore the dynamic world of Don Keenan's trial philosophy, The Cutting Edge. Those of you joining us live this afternoon have the opportunity to ask questions and interact with our speaker. And today's episode is a great one for you to hop right into that comment section and ask questions about the system we're going to be talking about. If you have questions, go down into the comment section, type them out, and we'll be sure to address it. Episodes are released each week following the live broadcast. So if you miss it, or if you want somebody, if you're here live and you have someone you know needs to watch this episode, please be sure to hit that subscribe button, click the alerts icon, and don't miss an episode. On today's episode, we have Matt Powell with us, and he's going to be talking about the Keenan Case Presentation System. Now, there's been a lot of buzz about this software for a long time now. And I've played around with it a little bit myself in the early stages. So I'm excited to hear from Matt about what the status is now, what's available to the public for use at trial, during discovery, how do we use this system? Matt is a practicing attorney as well as part of KTI faculty. We'll put his contact information in the description below so that you can contact him directly with any questions you have about this software system. All right, Matt, why don't you start by telling us about your background a little bit, and why are you the one who's here telling us about this software system?
Thank you so much, Jenna. That's a great question. And I ask myself that every day. Why am I doing this? I am a very active trial lawyer here in Tampa, Florida. And I had the great fortune to meet Don Keenan many years ago and got involved in all things Keenan. And he shared with me the original version of the Keenan Case Presentation System. And he had it working beautifully on a computer that was a Windows computer, and it was sort of a PowerPoint-based program. And it would make great timelines, and it would do the clock and all these great things. And he said, Matt, I know you're writing software for your case management software. Would you look at this? And so I looked at it, I said, okay, sure. And I looked at it, it was great. And I said, this needs to be saved, because the computer is sort of like an archive at the Smithsonian. They won't let Windows update it. They won't do anything. Don't connect it to the internet because you'll destroy it. And that's, 22 years ago or something.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I started on this path to make the Keenan Case Presentation System so that it would merge with Windows and work on PowerPoint. Okay. But unfortunately, the way malware works and viruses and Windows updates, it was impossible to keep up with the changes in the software that happen almost every day. So we had to get off the Windows platform. And I tell you, I was very reluctant, kicking and screaming, to go to the Apple platform. But that's the only one where Microsoft said, Microsoft is like, we control everything. And Apple's like, hey, we want developers and make whatever you want, cool apps, and we'll run it through sort of a malware screening process. And when it gets through that, we'll let you put it out. So we created the app, Keenan Case Presentation Software, Keenan Case Presentation System, and it only works on Apple iPads, or if you've got a laptop that's Apple with an M1 chip, it'll work. And it's free for anybody in the world. But we've just used it and designed it so that it works best for Don and for all the other edge lawyers through, opening, direct examination, closing, timelines, rules. There's just a lot of great stuff in it. So that's how it came to me, and it's been a slow, arduous process. I'm glad to say that now we have the technical ability to create a lot of good stuff that looks pretty, but the learning curve is challenging. If you're an IBM kind of Mac, person, Mac is really difficult to learn. It's just a little different approach. So
Okay.
having that said,
Oh, sorry, go ahead. Before we jump in I want to look at this and show the folks who are here what it looks like, but do you have a background in software engineering or decoding, or is this the kind of a boot camp thing you did?
I'm glad to say absolutely not. I don't know how to write one line of code.
Okay.
But I'm kind of a technology geek, like I like cameras and videos and stuff like that. And it all started because I used this software to run my office called Time Matters, which was really good, but I used every single field that was possible and there was nothing else out there. So I started to just hire people to write software that I call Honey. And it's just Honey case management stuff. And I'm the only one who uses it because I don't want to hear people crying and complaining about it. But we're hoping to make it good enough that other people can use it one day. But that's how I got into the software aspect of it. And Don asked me, and how can you say no to Don? It's such a guy. So here I am.
Yep. All right. Awesome. Okay, Matt, let's jump in. And I guess you've got some slides for us. Let's see what it looks like and what it can do for us.
All right. So let's see if I can share my screen. And please ask questions, okay? This is the type of thing where if you ask while we're doing it, it's a little easier to talk about it and show examples and stuff like that. Okay, so hopefully you can see my screen. You got that, Jenna?
I can see it, yes.
Okay. So it's a free app and anyone can download the app, and the address is KeenanCPS.com, and that will give you a lot of information. This is in the presentation mode right now. So I'm going to just kind of go through this presentation, and then if you want in the back, I'll show you a little bit like how we build things. So we'll go to the next page. It's kind of like TrialPad, but it has an added power that TrialPad doesn't have. TrialPad, lets you show stuff, but that's about all it can do. You're going to see that the Keenan Case Presentation System is designed to make it a little more engaging. It's got the added power of being able to build timelines. You're going to see 3 forms of them. It's got the power to add and show calendars. It's got, you can show flow charts, organizational charts. It allows the lawyer to put together lots of disparate facts and points and tie them together visually, because on a timeline, the way people think and absorb information is like a story. And if you just plop evidence in front of them, it may be great evidence, but if they don't have the connection of why it's important or how that proves your case, or the element that you're trying to prove, it's easy for them to just kind of get lost. It's also easy for lawyers to get lost by being too fact up. They focus on the facts and they won't let them go, and they throw in too many facts, and as a result, they don't communicate effectively. So if we can make the delivery of the message a little easier to understand, a little easier to digest, you're going to hit the target a lot more often. And it's kind of funny. I've used this in my last 10 jury trials, and I've had people, jurors, defendants, defense lawyers ask me about it. I'm like, yeah, you can use this. They're like, can I use this in my church, or do you have to be a lawyer? I'm like, no, you can use this in your church. Whatever you want to do to present stuff, this is a really valuable tool. So the advantage over PowerPoint is because it's on an Apple platform, it gives you some flexibility to move the images and zoom in, zoom out, and some cool things. The problem with the PowerPoint is that it's one slide after another slide after another slide, and you can't really jump ahead or behind. You can't go back easily. And the slides are very rigid. And so when you're in a trial and the bullets are flying and judges are ruling and people are, making things difficult, this allows a little bit more flexibility for you. Okay, so it allows you to use any kind of photographs, documents, videos. If you can see it on a computer monitor, it will go right into the Keenan Case Presentation System and be easy to use. So here's an example of photographs. And rather than just a stagnant photograph, I can move things up and down, slide them around. And if something's important, because it's Apple, you can zoom in and out. Like if this is an important little part there, okay, great, you can zoom in. It gives you a little more flexibility, a little more control. You can help focus on what you need to. So this is a PDF or a JPEG, no problem. Radiology images are always a big important thing. And it's really nice when you can, move them around a little bit and zoom in on the right part and have your expert talk about, well, this is C2 and C3 and whatever. So that's one nice thing about it. You can mix your media. So we got the X-ray over here, and that's a pretty bad X-ray. And then we've got the record next to it, and you can also zoom in and out of that.
So how is this different than on TrialPad, where you can kind of highlight and zoom with your iPen or whatever those things are called?
It's really similar. It's got all that power to it. In fact, there is a laser that you can use. There's some call out. There's a little bit of power up here that you can use. This is an example of me just showing a video. Okay. Like if you had a surveillance video, you can insert that into this and show it.
Now, did you create this timeline with what we're seeing right now with KCPS, or is this a video of something you created elsewhere?
This is a video that I created elsewhere and then imported it into the Keenan Case Presentation System.
Okay, that's if I say I feel more comfortable using a different type of software to create something like this or edit a video, for example, I can import that into KCPS?
Exactly. In fact, that's what, the best thing that you can create here is timelines. And I'll get into that a little bit. But it is not a video editor in any respect. Get your video clips together, organized, and put them in here. If you want to play a video deposition at trial, this will handle it no problem. And here's just a short clip, okay? I don't know if you guys can hear that or not.
Can't hear the sound, but it might be because you didn't share sound when you shared your screen. Sometimes that happens.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's me talking, and that's the witness giving an answer.
Great.
So, that's an 11-second clip. Real simple. If you're going to cross-examine an expert and you need to show their clip, there it is. All right, so let's get to the good stuff, and that is the timelines. And there are basically three main timelines: the linear timeline, the calendar timeline, and a clock. And each one has its own special, unique place to use. And what's interesting is all the points on a timeline are called an event. And you enter these events, and you can copy the events from one timeline format to another very easily. So it's not like you have to enter them over and over. This is an example of how in a timeline, you can create any picture you want in the background. You can change the color of it. You can change the opacity of it. You can make it subtle. You can make it harsh. And when I'm presenting, I just tap on the left side of the screen and the first event comes up, and I can move it around. It gives me a little more flexibility. There's the second one. You know, you can move bars around. Third one. And fourth one. So what I wanted to just kind of demonstrate here is you can make the background do whatever you want. So here's a clock, and the clock gives you a lot of flexibility. And so you just say, okay, here's the first event. And you say, oh, the patient arrives at the hospital. And when you're presenting this at trial, the fact that you can touch it and move things around a little bit keeps the jurors interested. Whoa, there was some motion. What was that? Oh, I think I'll read that a little bit more. You know, I'm just making an adjustment. That little adjustment is a subtle cue that it's important. Look here, look here, look here. So it allows you to tell a story in a nice, organized fashion, and by using things like colors, you're signaling subconsciously to the jury or your audience that something's changing here. And so blue is like, hey, everything's great, no problems. Yellow is like, warning, caution, be careful. And you can change the colors of anything to, you know, whatever you want. You can change the font colors. Notice that this font appears white and that's black. You can change the font style, size, bold, italics, all that good stuff.
I will have to say, or I will say, I have tried to make various types of things like this in PowerPoint and Word, and it is almost impossible. To do a clock like this, for sure. To do even a basic timeline is very, very difficult. I've watched many YouTube videos on it. So if this works as well as we're watching it on here, then I'm very excited about that.
It is exciting, and it is now possible to do. And once you get past your first couple attempts, you will learn that there's little tricks and there's shortcuts, and you develop a pattern, and it's easy to do. And in fact, I'm not going to go into it on this video, like how to build these things, because that, you know, that's for another one, and we'll get back next month maybe and do another one. But now, you know, we've communicated a lot of information on this one page by just creating a clock. And what would be the big takeaway of this is look at all the yellow time that this baby could have been saved. And so color and the training that you get with the Keenan Edge helps us make these timelines more powerful. So this is our calendar. And, you know, Apple just has some cool features. Like, see the page turn? That's something that they build in, and then you can apply it to the app. So this is an example of a client who got into a car accident. And one of the defenses is you have pre-existing conditions. And so what I wanted to do is show on a timeline every medical appointment she ever had. And in fact, if you go back to this year, you know, it's plastic surgery, okay? So she went, she had a little home improvement there. But then we get to the date of the crash, and I come over here and I click on this, and you know, there's the pictures of the crash, and I can blow that up. I don't want to go into it, but then, you know, January 31st, a crash, and then she's got treatment, MRI. And what I've done is I color code the types of treatment so that the jury has a good appreciation of kind of what's going on.
Quick question, Matt. So that video we saw you had created somewhere else and imported into KCPS. The clock and the calendar, were those created with KCPS software actually in the software?
That is correct.
Okay. All right. Great.
Yeah, that is the power. That's the magic of Keenan Case Presentation System, is that you're going to be able to build your timeline right here.
Got it.
And I'll share with you that if you've got a Word document that is, let's say it's date, doctor, type of treatment, type of thing, there's YouTube videos that will tell you how to export all that data into what's called a CSV file. Then you import that file into the Keenan Case Presentation System, and all your events are there, and you don't have to type them all over.
Like that.
It's a little tedious the first time, but once you get the path, you're like, wow, this is a lifesaver. And the fact that once you type in the events once, you can export them and put them in a different format or a different place or use them again. And what's really nice about this software is that you should start using it in the pre-suit, or once you file a lawsuit. You want to make a mediation presentation, or you maybe want to make a different presentation for your experts, or a different presentation for your opening and for your direct exam and cross exam. So what's cool about it is you can make an unlimited number of presentations with it. All right. So there's themes, and one of them is the chalkboard theme. And why would we use a chalkboard theme? Well, Bubba knows when he sees a chalkboard, at least the older ones, that's how you went to school and learned, you know, chalk and a board, and they would write on it. And so it's a pretty cool theme. And then some blackboards are black, some are green, you know. And what's nice is you can go back and forth and jump around a little bit. So let's talk about rules boards that you're probably going to use in your opening statement. So here's a trucking safety rules board, and I pop it up and I ask someone to read the first rule. Okay, so they read it, and then we go to the next rule. You know, the first one is training, second one is supervision, third one is qualified drivers. And so then we have a checklist for the first one. And did they have a training manual? Yes, so that gets a little checkbox. You hit next. Did they give the training manual to every driver? No. Oh, darn. Okay. Well, did they give them the 4-hour instruction to make sure that they read and understood the training manual? No. All right. Did they test the driver to make sure that they understood it and they could follow the manual? No. Okay. Did they have a ride-along to test their skills? No. This is pretty persuasive stuff, isn't it? I mean,
yeah,
you're letting...
it's another thing I've tried really hard to make a good one in PowerPoint, and it looks, I mean, okay sometimes, but this is, as I say, it's very exciting if this stuff on the back end is able to be put together and just looks like this. That's great through this software. It's great.
Yeah, so, you know, so here's the next checklist, and so you just go through them nice and slow, making sure your audience is getting it. And so I just sort of made this abbreviated. All right, so that's all that we have on this rules. And so I created this rules board. It probably took me 10 minutes. But then I said, well, what if I don't want the green blackboard? So I copied it and made it a black one, you know? And let's do a focus group and let's see which one they like better. Do they care? I don't know, you know? The point is, it's just easy to do.
Okay.
All right, so concentric circles. This is a really powerful tool that is easier to do in Keenan Case Presentation System than any other software I've ever played with. Simple one with the presidents. Once you have the pictures and you know what you're going to write, you can put this together in 10 minutes easily. This is one about a medical malpractice case and informed consent, and how, have you ever noticed that when the patient gets to the hospital, they have to fill out all of these forms? So
10 minutes before surgery.
Yeah.
While they're already under whatever weird numbing medication they had to take for the surgery.
Exactly. So, oops, you know what? There's a couple other slides I want to show. It does a right way, wrong way, and I may have put these out of order. If you want to download the app, you have to get your Apple device, your iPad, and go to the store, click on that button, and it will take you to, this is what you're looking for, KCPS. You can download it for free. You enter your email address, and then you have to go and open your email from that Apple device, and then it will let you open the software. I am using an iPad Pro, and I have a little magic keyboard that I like a lot. And the advantage of using an Apple Pencil is it avoids problems with fingers, and you're trying to hit real small points when you're building these things. There's an iPad, yeah. And so that's the overview of the PowerPoint. Let me come over here. I'm going to get out of it, and now you're looking at the backs of it. So let's go to a timeline. So here's just 4 events and manage events. So let's create an event. Let's do January 22nd, 2022. So I hit create event, and let's call it test event. And so January 22nd, what year was that? 21? I don't remember. If you're using the clock timeline, you have to put the time in, okay? You don't have to for some other things. This is a test event. See, my typing skills are terrible.
That's all right.
Now, if you want to attach media, if you've got media that you've uploaded into your iPad, it's there. If not, you go to More, and it takes you to Dropbox, and you can have all your media here. I'm just going to use this one little thing. So we've attached this picture. You can attach as many media as you want. You can just keep hitting attach media, attach media. This says, do you want to show the media first when you present this thing, or do you want to wait and you open it up? So it gives you a choice.
Okay.
Select the background color of that event. So what color do you want this event to look like on the screen? So I'm just going to pick this bright fuchsia. Event to pop up, and I hit done. Okay, so I put the wrong year, so I put it first over here, which is okay. If I want to edit it, it's kind of funny. I just hit edit and change the date to 22. And it moved it all to the right place, and there it is. And you can move these around and set them to whatever format you want. The clock is the same events. The events are exactly the same. Oops. You create an event, so you give it a title. It wants the time. It doesn't really care about the date, a description, and then you can attach media. So it's pretty simple. And so you can also import events. So if you created, well, actually they should be out of order. You can export them from a timeline that you've created, or you can import them from either the Word document that you put in your Dropbox. And the way you put things on and off your iPad, the easiest thing to do, put it in Dropbox or a Google Drive or a box, and you just connect the two and you download it into your case. So you could import or export the events. Calendars, the exact same events. So it's a very consistent, same thing, and this has a lot of events. And I color coded them, so all the orthopedists are dark green, pain management's orange, massage is light blue. So what happens is these are like the slides, and you can also change the way that they populate, so they come over here on the side. But for the rules, you can add a new rule right here. And if I want to add another one, I just click here. If I want to add to the checklist, I give it a title, Rule Test Checklist. I click here and I type, did Matt spell rule right? Yes, okay, boom. And then you hit the save button up here and it's saved, voila. If you're having a problem, you can share this with another person who's got the same app, and they can download it and edit it. If you needed to export just one slide, you hit that button. If you want to export the entire presentation, every single page, it will export it, so you'll have it in that way.
Can you export, I think we talked about this before we went on the air, but can you export this, for example, and use it the same way in PowerPoint or another presentation system?
Yeah, unfortunately, Apple doesn't play nicely with PowerPoint or anyone else. You can export the PDFs and just have it, but it's not going to, like, PowerPoint's not going to absorb it and see it as a presentation. You're going to have to create every single slide again and add your data.
All right, so import your PowerPoint, whatever you made in PowerPoint, into this. Or if you made a video, or you clipped a video in another piece of software, or have any other type of media, take it from that format and put it in here, and this will present it.
Yeah. So part of that is what you said was right. I want to be clear. You can't, unfortunately, install a PowerPoint into the Keenan Case Presentation System. It won't run that way. But you can import any kind of JPEG, PNG, audio file, video file, whatever you've got is easy to do. Let me show you a little bit more, because you guys are. So I just click on that to create a new slide. And so
we lost you on the share screen.
Oh, yeah. You know what? That's not fair.
That's all right.
Any questions from the audience?
So far, no, but I'm racking up my questions. So.
All right, good. So what I did is I hit the plus button, and it creates a new slide for me. And
I'm still not seeing it for whatever reason. It says you've started.
Oh, I'm sorry. You know what? There we go.
Oh yeah, that's right. The mirror thing. I have to remember to do that during trial. We had virtual trials. I'm like, why can't you see my screen? I have to mirror it.
Yeah, that's one of the challenges. Oh, and do you want to jump? Well, let's say for later how you use it at trial, okay?
Yeah.
So what I was showing here is, that was the last slide. I just added one. When you hit the plus button, it just adds another slide. And you can rename the slide. to whatever you want. And the power is right in this little spot. The checkbox with, so you can create a calendar, the linear timeline, and the linear timeline I showed you, all the events were above the line. You can move it to half above, half below. It's however creative you want to get. This is the timeline. In fact, let me show you something cool about the timeline. You can set a picture. So you can put in the center of the clock a picture. It's kind of cool. So like if you're suing Acme Metals, you put their logo in there and it's like it's the Acme Metals clock in their workroom. You can resize the clock. So right now we got a big, we can make it smaller if we got more data to put around it. You know, background color, you pick a color, you can make up a color. You can make it as opaque or non-opaque as you want. And so what you saw before was the 12-hour clock. You can do a 24-hour clock. And if you said, look, I want it to be a 1-hour clock or 60 seconds, you can create it. It gives you a lot of flexibility, just a lot of power. So I just kind of wanted to share that little part with you.
That's great. So and then on the one that we watched earlier, it had the little hand, the second hand ticking through on something like the 1-hour clock here. Would that be doing the same thing or?
Yeah, it just does the same thing. Yeah, it's just a little, little video. Just, I don't know how it works, but it just click, 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 click. And it wouldn't change on no matter what style clock you have.
Okay. So it's more of a visual cue than an accurate seconds by seconds.
Yeah, it's like draws the audience attention. Look over here, there's something moving. So that was the clock, the rules, concentric circle, organizational charts. It makes those really kind of cool. Okay. And it says, do you want a top-down one? Do you want a left-right? Different things like that. And you can move this control bar out of your way. What's interesting is I found from making family trees, if they're a big family, they get too big and they use up more than the whole screen. So rather than do anything, you can kind of zoom in and zoom out.
Okay, so you could make the massive tree with a little tiny squares, but then you would be able to zoom in on this.
Yeah, and move around. Organizational charts as well.
Okay.
I'm going to show you one other little thing that I wanted to show you. So these are all the various presentations that I've made. And this one's a right way, wrong way. And rather than play it, it's just you add the steps as you go. And it just helps the jury deal with it.
So you create each one of those little slides. And then what does it look like in the presentation mode? Can we see that?
Sure. Oops, sorry. So it just switches really a lot like a PowerPoint.
Okay, all right. So that one is in the way that you designed it, much like what you would do on a PowerPoint. Okay.
Yeah, and so let me tell you the little hack. What you do is you design it with all the images on it. Like you put your N one first, and then you duplicate the slide over and over and over, and then you delete them. So you don't have to that way they all line up and they stay precisely where you want them. Got it. Family trees are pretty cool. it's as creative as you want to get. And, once you start using it and playing with it a little bit, you'll get really better. Let me see if I can show
With kind of respect to getting used to it and playing with it, are there tutorials that people can watch, or do we have a college for this to help people with that learning curve?
If you go to the website links that are on the show more of this YouTube video below, there's one, KeenanCPS.com, and there are videos there that teach you how to do it. And there's also an instruction manual that's built into the app that if you click on the question mark in the top right corner, it takes you to an instruction manual that breaks it down. Good news is we've made a lot of advances and improvements. The bad news is the instruction manual is a little behind. But as Greg Luther said, once you get used to this, it becomes intuitively obvious, and you just keep kind of moving in that direction. But
is it, I'm going to ask the audience this, those who are either listening today or who download the audio or watch this later, if you're interested in maybe a more live option or something like that, maybe, as Matt suggested, we could have him back on the podcast to answer some specific questions, or we could possibly set up a time, to do something like that, just to answer some questions folks have as you're playing around with it. So let me know if you're interested in that. Type it in the comments section. Maybe it's a terrible idea. I don't know. I know that it would be helpful for me, because sometimes when I try to learn how to do something just by reading the instructions and trying it myself, I screw up, but I need somebody there to be like, what am I doing wrong? That kind of a thing. So let me know if that's your way of learning as well, and we can see if there's a way we can accommodate that. What do you think, Matt?
Yeah, that would be great. I can tell you that if people want to learn this online, if they'll get their iPad out there with them and go and just install the app, and then we can walk through it really nice and easily, and people can ask questions, and it really is a good way to learn. And let me also share with you that you could have your whole office working on your Keenan Case presentation at the same time, because it's all in the cloud. They're all working on it together. So it's not like, it's the one iPad.
Okay.
Any iPad that has the app and the credentials can share the same information.
If you're mid-trial and the judge makes a ruling and your lead counsel, can somebody back at your office make an adjustment to your presentation and have that change either immediately or very close to immediately on your presentation?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. On a break, you can sit down and make a bunch of changes. It's really flexible. And I urge the lawyers who are going to be using this in trial to become proficient at it. It's always nice to have someone in the background that's proficient to work on it and do stuff while you're talking to the defense lawyer and the judge. That happens all the time. I'm like, hey, Chance, I need you to move this over here, move that over there. Or, this isn't working right. Can you download this one more time? Oh, we just got a new verdict. Okay, we got to upload the verdict, move it from Dropbox, import it, and that's how it works. But if you are the lawyer and you don't know how to operate the software, you're going to crash and burn at trial, because you need to be able to know what's going on to use it. And I wanted to share one more little thing here, if I can. I know I'm not sharing it. I'm trying to get it up. And people ask me, okay, how do you use it in court? There's a couple, you have two choices. One, you can plug in a wire to your iPad that goes right to your projector, and then it will present right there. It's tethered. The other thing you can do is you can get an Apple TV, which is what I use, and I connect my Apple TV to my iPad, and then I just hit present or blank screen, and that way I can walk around the courtroom and I'm not tied to the podium.
So there does have to be some kind of TV or something compatible with your iPad in order to project that in a way that the jury is not just trying to look at your little tiny iPad, right?
Absolutely, yes. Do not try and hold up your iPad. That would just be like, now you're losing ground. But for those of you who've never bought an Apple TV, it's a device that's the size of 2 cell phones, and it has an HDMI video cable that comes out of it and plugs into your television, and then it works on Wi-Fi, so you can like connect it to your Wi-Fi at your home and watch Netflix, or on your iPhone or your iPad. There's always like a little connection to an Apple TV, and so you just connect it, and now you're just reproducing your screen up there.
Okay, so even if the court has like an older TV, it will most likely have an HDMI cord. So you could bring your Apple TV, connect that to the old dinosaur, and then your iPad, and that would make it work.
Yeah, so almost every courthouse I've been to lately, I bring my own equipment. I've got a projector, I've got a screen, and I just have to plug in electricity, and I'm wireless. I don't even need to run wire on the ground. If there's a projector in the courtroom, it will project on a screen, and all you have to do is plug an HDMI cable on one end and an Apple cable on the other end, and you're connected.
Got it. All right.
So that's how you connect. So what's interesting is, like, here's the verdict, and so I'm going through this in my closing argument, and explaining to the jury, here's how you answer the questions. So I just want to share that. So what's great about the presentation software is it's as great as you are creative. Like I said, mediation. Use it in deposition. Use it in direct examination, rules for opening, cross-examination, closing argument, going through the verdict. So there's just lots and lots of choices. So download the app, play with it. I promise you won't hurt your iPad, you won't hurt yourself, you won't delete some crazy thing. Get used to it. The other thing is it's designed to back itself up and make a copy like every 5 minutes. So if you do a lot of work and for some reason it crashes, if you save it every time you exit, it's backed up, and if you don't, it'll be backed up on the cloud.
Okay. All right, we have a couple questions from the audience.
Yay.
Glenn Carpenter. Hi, Glenn. He says, "Hi, Matt. He thought it was a $1,000 plus fee per case. Is it now free?"
Okay, good question. So it comes for free, and you can use it as much as you want for free, but it's going to have the watermark of the Keenan Case Presentation System on every page. And if you said, look, I'm going to try this case and I've got a lot of money in it and I don't want to say Keenan Case Presentation System, you can buy a license to re-watermark it with the name of your case for $1,000, and you can make as many presentations as you want with that license. Great question.
So with the $1,000, it removes the watermark, but can you only use it for that case? Or
no, it's going to watermark it with the name of the case that you give it.
Okay. All right. Can we see what the watermark looks like?
Yeah. Let me.
The Keenan Case Presentation, just so that we would know, like, if we're using it for free.
Yep. Yeah. In fact, it was on every page that I just showed you. So let me just get back to it and share the screen. One advantage to having a cable from your iPad to the projector or your TV screen in your courtroom is it doesn't have to do that mirroring thing. It takes a long time. Okay.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So here it is, and here's the watermark right there.
Okay.
That's what you're going to see. So notice on every screen, it's right there.
Okay. So it will have that. Oh, so just the words down there. All right, folks. I don't know if you can see
That's
that.
all it's going to have, right?
Okay.
And you could change that to the name of your client. And like this last one that I just had up there. I'm going to show you this one. This one was a settlement. This was like, hey, your client didn't go to the doctor on time. And so we use the calendar and say, well, she had a crash on Thursday. On Friday, she tries to, she calls her doctor. She tells the sheriff she's hurt. She calls her doctor. It's too far away. They said, go to a specialist. Well, it's Saturday, the office is closed. It's Sunday, the office is closed. And on Monday, it's Martin Luther King Day. So she goes to the doctor on Tuesday. So the fact that she delayed her treatment is really disingenuous. But see, here's the watermark for her case. So that's how it would look. And by the way, let me show you. You can move it to the top of the case, like if you've got something visual, or you can actually move it to the middle, which looks kind of stupid there. So,
can you change the opacity of it so it's less obvious?
No, that's the opacity of it. That's not a variable.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then Dennis has a question. Dennis Phillips. Hi, Dennis. He says, hey, Matt, what Apple products did you say you use? So you mentioned when you go into court, you just boop, 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 and it goes. Tell us how that is and what you use.
Yeah. All right. So here's your shopping list. First, you want to get a iPad Pro, right? Real simple. I recommend the new Pencil. It allows you to work quickly with some things. I am a huge fan of the Magic Keyboard. And the reason for that is it's got a great little keyboard that you type just like any other keyboard, but it's also got a trackpad. And when you take your iPad, it holds onto it by a magnet, and there's a charging port right here. And so it's charging it while it's there. And then when you're moving around, it's in a nice safe case, easy to use, easy to transport. So that is basically the machine. The next thing you want to get is going to be, this is fancy stuff, buy the Apple TV. Install it. I have TV monitors are so cheap now that I carry my own to the court, and I have a stand, and I plug it in, and I have Velcro on the back of my Apple TV, and it glues to the back of the television, and I run a short HDMI cable in, and then I connect it through the Wi-Fi. And this is important too. The Wi-Fi in the courthouses are terrible. So I bought my own cell phone Wi-Fi hotspot that connects easily to my iPad, connects to my Apple TV, and that way I don't have a bandwidth problem. I don't have interference from other devices in the courthouse. It's all inside one room. As long as you can get a cell phone, a couple bars in there, you're good to go, and that will simplify your life and cause less hair pulling from your skull when things don't go the way you want.
And is that something you get through your cell phone provider, like a hotspot or a booster, or can you buy it off the shelf?
Yeah, you can buy an AT&T or T-Mobile. It's just called a hotspot, and you just give it a little power. It's got a little cell phone antenna. I went out and I bought something that's called a MoFi, M-O-F-I, and it's a little bit of a bigger thing. It's got 4 antennas, and it's got actual Cat5 plugs in it, so I can connect devices to it. And then when you go to your cell phone provider, they sell you a SIM card, and you install it in this fancy device that has better antennas, and it helps your connectivity and really push the signal strongly in your courtroom.
Okay.
Great question. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, great question. Definitely. All right. So we've seen how it can work in in-person trials. I mean, realistically, you just showed us how it would work in a virtual trial because we saw the presentation, and that's how it, if anybody out there is still doing virtual trials. Let's see. We know what you can create with it. You can create the timelines, the clock, the calendar, family tree, a lot of the stuff that you can't create in a Word document or a PowerPoint or really anywhere else. And, you know, while there's a little bit of a learning curve, there are a lot of tools for folks out there. So, you know, everybody at Keenan Law Firm and KTI are super accessible. We're all relatively friendly for the most part. So if you have questions, please reach out. I know Matt is a great and easy to reach. So if you have questions about things, feel free to reach out to him. If he doesn't have the answer, or, you know, if he's in trial, and he's getting a bunch of questions, maybe we could set up a time for people to do a group option of asking questions and getting those answered. And I guess to close up, Max, I think we're pretty much done here. What's your favorite way to use this software, both pre-trial and in trial? So tell us 2 ways it's your favorite way to use it.
The timelines are just so powerful. That's really where the meat is, you know. And I can tell you that in our office, we have these pretty elaborate medical chronologies. And the fact that I can convert it to a CSV file, import it, just add the colors, and have a beautiful calendar, you know, that could be months and cover years. I didn't show you this, but you can show just a month, you can show just a year. There's a lot of flexibility in it. So my favorite thing is the timeline, and it would take forever and cost thousands and thousands of dollars if you hired an artist or a trial exhibit company to make these posters for you. And when the judge says, sorry, you can't have that one thing on your timeline, it's garbage. Or you put gray tape on it and it looks terrible. With this, delete one event, fine. Oh, add another event, change a word. It allows you the freedom of flexibility and creativity. So that's a great question. That's my number one thing. The timelines are all the power.
Nice. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Matt, for coming in and sharing this with us. And thank you to all of you who joined us live for this week's episode of Fridays with Keenan's Cutting Edge. If you liked today's episode, please click that thumbs up to feed the YouTube algorithm. Let the higher powers at YouTube know you find the content interesting, and sign up for alerts and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Next week, since my crystal ball is back working again, and Matt did come today as predicted, we are going to have Andrew Garza. I mentioned we'd have him on to talk about his $100 million verdict. Again, I don't even know. Saying those words is just like, it blows my mind. So I am excited to hear what that's all about, how it came to be, and how the edge propelled him to be able to get that massive result for his client. I'm excited to hear about it with all of you. Have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you next year. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Thank you so much, Matt.
Bye-bye.
Bye.